Hello, Longhorn.
Hello, Longhorn.
Hello, Longhorn.
I used to do morning radio, and I'm for some reason used to like eating the microphone, which is not great mic technique.
Oh, it's not.
But I'm just like, I just want to, but you don't need to do that.
Okay.
It's really weird.
Yeah, let me know if it's too far.
No, you're good. You don't
Okay.
have to touch it. I got you. Gosh,
Great.
your manicure, everything is just, everything is on point. And you really do match the decor today.
Yeah, I love it. I'm like, this is like very close to the
It really
color
is.
of the university. So
I love
Should
it.
work
Well,
well.
thank you for coming in. So I met you over the summer because your company ZenBusiness was on the Longhorn 100 for the second year in a row, which is our list here at the University of the fastest growing Longhorn companies. So I drove over and handed you your trophy to make sure you
Which is
got
really
it.
nice. Thank you.
Because I had never met you before, and you were on my list of alums that I really, really wanted to meet. And then I thought you were lovely, and I was like, well, you have to come on the podcast.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, let's start with, and I love this because your story on how you came to the University of Texas was very different than my story. So you were in Iran, and at 16, you decided to leave and come to the United States. Why did you do that?
Okay. So growing up, I always from what I was observing around me, I had this need or this desire to come to U.S. for my college education, just because I could see how people had the opportunities if they got educated abroad and came back to Iran. And being the last child in the family of 5, a couple of months before the revolution happened, I saw the unrest in the country, and I encouraged my parents to send me over. So however I was thinking and whatever I was thinking.
I mean, that's a big decision to make at 16, to come and finish high school in the United States. English is not your first language,
No.
but you took classes, and so you were able to speak both languages.
Yeah, I passed the high school principal's test.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to take any English as a second language classes, just because I could already, like, my grammar was pretty good, my reading was pretty good, and the conversation, it only takes practice and being in the environment that really helps there.
And you didn't move here completely alone, because at the time your sister was here and her husband was at the University of Texas. So you got to move in with your sister, but she didn't stay.
No, and again, like, I'm glad my sister was here, because if she wasn't, my parents wouldn't allow me to move here because I was underage. And so the fact that they did was because my sister and her husband were here in Austin, and he was getting his master's at UT. But when the revolution happened, a couple of months later, they decided that they want to move back to Iran and help build that country. But I was lucky enough that my parents gave me the option. Again, I always say whatever they were thinking, I'm always so grateful to them. Because it's just one of those things that throughout life, as you think back about it, you're like, oh my God, I'm so lucky. I am so grateful that they did allow me to stay, and for me to just take advantage of all the opportunities that was provided to me here.
Okay, so you were here all by yourself. Of course, you had friends and family. Okay, but you decided to apply for the University of Texas. So that's how I like to start. Why did you choose UT?
So, first being in Austin and looking at all the universities where, first of all, like, they're really good universities. They have great engineering school, because that was like my option. Like, I really wanted to go to engineering school because I always loved like math and science, and I thought, okay, my only option is like to go to engineering school. And then I was also kind of a constraint by how much I could spend on my education, right? Because of everything that was going on in our country and how limited our parents were in sending money abroad. So putting all of that together, and again, UT being like such an amazing school, and the cost of living here in Austin at the time was pretty low. I decided that, and the fact that they accepted me, right? I mean, it's not just like, oh, I want to go to UT, and they're like, okay, come on. And also the fact that I had the opportunity and I had the acceptance. Putting all of that together is why I decided to stay.
And I heard you say, and I love this because I think this is how you think when you're 17 or 18 applying to college, that your mom joked that you had all the different other engineers in the family. So electrical was not yet taken. So you were like, well, I already have a mechanical engineer and this engineer and a civil engineer. So I'll take the electrical route. And that's really as simple as it is sometimes because you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. I mean, at that age, like making that decision when you really have not had any visibility into or any idea what you're going to end up doing in your career, and having to pick something, right? To even, okay, I want to come to UT, but which college? What do you want to apply for, right? So yeah, it was all about, my mom just happened to mention at once that, oh, I wish one of my kids was an electrical engineer. So I'm like, maybe I go to electrical engineering school.
Yeah.
But then also the fact that one of the minors was computer engineering is what also got me really interested.
Did you get involved in anything? Was there anything like crazy and wild that you were like, I'm in America, I'm here at UT. Did you go to the football games? Did you go to parties?
No. So it was pretty hard times, pretty tough times, especially those days, not only being from Iran and everything that was going on in that country, which also had, in some cases, an impact to us here, being in US, and how people saw us who were from Iran. And also the fact that you're a foreign student, you have so many rules and regulations you have to follow. You have to study really hard, make sure that your visa doesn't get into a bad standing. You have to make all the good grades because you don't want to waste time. And if you get a bad grade, you're going to get kicked off. You're not going to have a visa. So there was a lot of constraints, right? So partying maybe only came like, the breaks between the semesters and maybe a couple of nights out here and there. But actually, no, I never went to the football games. I was not like crazy about football at the time because this was never a thing.
Well, it wasn't
our
a sport
country,
that you had,
it wasn't, right? And I remember that I went to a couple of concerts, which they were pretty cool and interesting, for someone who had not been in a concert in such a big arena with like 20,000 people, So really interesting, experiences. But it was just all about studying, knowing all the libraries at school. So that was the life.
What did you want to do when you graduated? Like, was the goal always to go into some sort of software computer programming?
So when I was actually, like, from what I studied, I should have become a hardware designer.
Okay.
Electrical and computer engineering is all about like hardware design. And in my senior year, but during that time, we also had to take software classes. So during my senior year, I realized that I really enjoyed the software aspect of things a lot more than I did the hardware design. And also somebody that I knew already, and they were in the industry and they were working, they also encouraged me to really get into the software. It was becoming like a big thing, like being a C programmer, being a Fortran programmer.
Because this is in the mid-'80s. Yeah.
It was becoming a pretty demanding thing out there. So, and then again, I liked the software engineering aspect of it. So I went back to school and took more software classes. And that's where I started my career.
Is your first job was as a programmer?
Yes.
Okay.
Like C programmer one. It was the state of Texas.
Okay. And that's kind of like the entry-level job for anybody
Correct.
going into that field.
Correct. It was an entry-level job. It was at the department and a division that owned like kind of at the technologies for the agency. And they had just started going through this transformation and re-engineering one of the major systems at the agency. And it was when like the client server applications had become very popular, and it was no longer like, mainframes and COBOL programming. So it was a pretty cool opportunity. And again, me being one of the first people as a part of that group and knowing how to do like C programming, developing client server applications was a big deal.
You're working for companies, you're an employee, you're probably rising the ranks, but at some point, and I think it was at HomeAway, you shifted towards more of a leadership role. You were probably always on that. So 2 questions. Did you always want to have a leadership role? Did you even know that, when you started, that's the track I want to be on, or did it present itself to you?
Yeah, in some ways it kind of presented itself to me, and I was always like willing and open to take on more. And if that meant, oh no, I had to lead a team, I was totally fine with that because I always had some of that in my blood too. It's like wanting to manage things, you know. So actually, when I was still at the state of Texas, is when I became a team lead and
Okay.
managing a group of like the developers, engineer, or well, people who were developing the systems and the tools. So that's where I started like experiencing that, and some of that was through just the career path at the agency, and where if I wanted to go to the next level, that was almost like a requirement those days. Oh,
Okay.
now you have to become a team lead, and this is the track. So that kind of, in a way, it just presented itself to me, and also because I really wanted, I was so eager. I had my goals, like I really wanted to go up the career ladder, and I saw that as kind of one of the options that, you know, nowadays there are more options. Like you don't have to become a manager in order to go up the career ladder. You can just stay on the technical side and still have the opportunities. But those days, it was kind of a little bit limited to like, oh, you have to become, which I'm glad I did. I loved it. I enjoyed doing it.
So we're going to land at ZenBusiness, which now you've also taken a slightly different role, but you're always a co-founder of ZenBusiness. But a couple things. Number one, you co-founded the company with a fellow Longhorn. When you co-found a company with somebody, that's a pretty big step, right? It's a relationship. It's a marriage, a work marriage, right? So I guess when you guys were met for the first time, did you just like have an instant spark, or how did that go?
No, it's a pretty interesting one, actually. When I was at the very first startup that I joined during the dot-com boom after I left the state of Texas agency, I loved like working for smaller companies. I really love like how you can get to wear many different hats and learn so many things in such a short period of time. So during my time there, the company got acquired by another company that was also in the process of changing things around and maybe moving to Dallas. And a common friend of ours, who was my colleague at the time, introduced me to Ross Berdorf, who is my co-founder at ZenBusiness. And he, at the time, was running the engineering departments at Excite. And he was creating a brand new role, needing someone who was like more focused on the data side and really like knew everything about, I became an Oracle DBA. I became more focused around data in the very first startup I was in, and that was because the manager of the data team saw this opportunity in me, and she encouraged me to do that, which again, one of those other people that I'm always very grateful to, because I loved it. I love like doing that. So he needed someone with those expertise, and then our common friend introduced us, and I think maybe because like it's always about like who you know, your network, your connections. So he talked to me and he decided to give me that opportunity. And I think what he saw in me was just like my work habits, my problem solving, my execution style. So after Excite, anywhere he went, he called me up and he asked me like I should go join them. I did in some cases, not in all cases. But then before ZenBusiness is when he joined HomeAway as their founding CTO. And he convinced me that I should go join them at HomeAway, which I'm always glad that I did, because the 11 years that I spent at HomeAway, being a successful company, being on a fast growth pace, acquiring so many companies globally, and going through the IPO process, getting acquired by Expedia, and the opportunity for me that at HomeAway I was able to grow as a leader. I learned so much. On that journey. So then after, and then again, Ross was there too. I wasn't like, I was reporting up to him in the organization. But again, I think that I knew his work habits. I knew how he does things. He knew how I do things. So the thing for both of us, it was like, oh, I would work with this person again, So when he was thinking about starting ZenBusiness, or thinking about the idea, actually, we were having coffee, and he started telling me about it, and he said, I really want you to come and join me in this effort.
So what was the leap like? Okay, so you're working in these companies, you're acquiring leadership roles, but you're still in these large companies. And then you're having coffee with a fellow Longhorn who you've known for a long time. And he says, let's go start our own thing. Was that in any way a scary move?
So actually, it wasn't really, it was for both of us, was starting something new because he had already left. After Expedia's acquisition, he had already left HomeAway. He was taking some time off and just wanted to rest and relax for a while. And then I had already left too because it was at the time when the acquisition happened. Right before that, I was even thinking, that's like, what's next in life for me? And I felt like, I just needed time to kind of de-stress and rethink, okay, what do I want to do in the future? Do I want to continue, doing the type of work I was doing? Do I want to just give, be in the giving mode, like helping other organizations or nonprofits? What is it that, or do I want to just sit on the sofa and watch TV, which is like, that's never me.
Sure, which is, by the way, a very common place for people to be in their career. Like my husband's gone through it. I've gone through it. All my friends have gone through it. You're on this track. You're young. You're working. And then all of a sudden, either because by choice or not by choice, you typically have this like break where you get to sit down and reoevaluate. Maybe you have a couple moments like that in your career. In the moment, it can seem really scary. Looking back, you're like, oh, thank goodness that happened.
Exactly.
And so in that moment, you had some time. You guys said, let's start something new. And you want to make it, and it is as big as the company you had worked at before, but you wanted to be in charge.
Yes.
Right? And so the idea behind ZenBusiness is for entrepreneurs to be able to start their business. You provide all the tools to set up their LLC so that they are compliant. And why was that a passion for y'all? Because you weren't working for small businesses before. You weren't really entrepreneurs. You weren't setting up your own LLCs, right? So why was that the thing?
Yeah, because I think we both of us saw it as an opportunity. Small businesses is what makes this economy, right?
Yeah, I read that there's like
major part. There are about like over 6 million businesses that start in US every year.
6 million?
Yes.
Every year.
Yeah. So we saw all of that as a huge opportunity, and also both of our love and passions about entrepreneurs and small businesses. We already had like that passion. I think if we didn't have those entrepreneurial minds, we wouldn't have been starting a new company. So we had something in us already that we wanted to do something new, and what that new thing is going to be. Even for him, and both for him and myself, was like we were both at the time in our lives where we didn't have to do anything, right? We didn't have to go start a company, but we wanted it, whatever it was, that has a purpose behind it too, right? Because again, both of us were really aligned, is like, what's next for us, and is it gonna have a purpose? And for us, building something like that to really help entrepreneurs starting their journey, it was a purpose, right? Because we felt like we really are serving this category in the market that really needs it. It's one person, they're good at something and they want to focus on like what they're good at, and they don't want to deal with all of this back office stuff. And how can we make that simpler and easier for them? So that's how, we decided to join forces and start ZenBusiness. And through that time too, we did go talk to people who had already had started their journeys, people who were thinking about starting their journeys. And we really felt like that's a great place for us to build something.
How long was it just the two of you?
So actually, there wasn't the two of us.
There was a
only.
whole group.
It was a group. There was 6 of us that started the company as co-founders. Of course, Ross was the CEO all along, and but then the others, throughout time, they all decided to go off and do other things or do their own things, and then at the beginning, of course, it was pretty hard. You're just starting something. It's you don't have enough resources, you don't have enough money. So what are all the things that, again, it was lucky for Ross and I where we could kind of adjust. We could do things that maybe not everybody's able to do when they're just starting something, which was maybe we don't get paid for 2 years. It's okay, we can afford it. But if
But
it
how
felt
cool
like
that
we're
you had the
building-
opportunity to do
Yes.
that. You had to work really hard, by the way, to be able to have that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so your job specifically, what do you think was the biggest thing you brought to ZenBusiness? Was it developing the architecture of the website?
So yeah, I think so. First, like both Ross and I come from a technology background.
Yeah.
Right. And
Like he was
a
computer science, yeah.
But we both were all of our career. We were in like building solutions, building technologies. So part of this also was we could see how we could build a lot of technology to automate a lot of manual processes. So that was the other piece of like where we saw
AI
the
before AI
opportunity.
was hot?
Before AI was even a thing,
Yeah.
right? So and then we both like saw, and this is also what he really reminded both of us, especially at the beginning, was we divided and conquered. Because sometimes people say, "Oh, what all did you do? What all did Ross do? How did you decide to do this?" And it was all about, "Oh, what am I better at, and what are you good at? And let's just divide and conquer, because that's the only way you can do it. Especially when you're just starting. There's just so much, but it's a learning every day too." So that's how we decided to do that. So kind of I started, by just taking on more of the technology, the development area, because also how we started was like analyzing a lot of data, and then based on that data, deciding like what exactly was it that we wanted to build. And since I was really good at data already, I knew like how to build the structure, how to pull all the data together, how to do the analysis. And then I was always like very detail oriented. And that meant then, financials. Shahnaz, maybe you should do the financials, make sure we're all, legal and, all the legal aspect of things. So, but again, like we all pitched in to whatever was needed. We cleaned the office, we throw the trash out, So it was everything. You're building a company, so you're just like, you do whatever that it takes on a daily basis.
You guys started in 2015. So right now it's been 10 years.
Well, actually 2017.
2017. Okay. Why does it say 2015
So
on your
here's the thing.
website? Yeah.
2015 is when a corporation name was formed.
Okay.
But 2017 is actually when we launched ZenBusiness.
Okay, 2017.
Yes.
So it's been about 8 years.
Correct.
And you have about 850,000 different people that have used your services, which is a
Correct.
pretty big number.
Yes.
Like in the beginning, I know it's not the thing where you personally know the businesses that are, but in the beginning, when the first couple businesses
my
were
God.
signing up, did you know? Were you like, okay, we got
Yes,
one?
we're like, oh my God, we got the first person. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, we don't even know why they bought this package. We can't fulfill most of it. So let's go figure out what is it that we have to do. Because like literally, like we were testing ideas. Because so here's one thing about us too, because both Ross and I have built like so many solutions in our past life before ZenBusiness, and so many times it ended up not being used, right? So we were really strong-minded around, we don't want to build anything until we have the data, we have the facts, and we know that our customers need it and want it, right?
That's such a thing of you've worked for a company and somebody told you to build it, but the data wasn't there. Is that kind of where you're like, no, we're not going to waste our time unless we know.
Unless we know.
Yeah.
Unless we know this is going to be, And even like wherever, like one of my big things always was, even whatever we're building, we're going to start in the most simplest form. Just build something very basic because we don't know enough about it. So basic, like, MVP, like what is the basic we can build, and start testing with it, rather than trying to think, we have to build everything before it can go out. Because at that time, you've already built too much without knowing enough about it.
And I think like, what would you say when you were starting and you had little resources versus the fact that you were at a company that had a lot of resources? What was the thing that you would look back and say like, ooh, we took that for granted? Or I also look at the fact that often I find this and I hear this all the time. People are so glad that they worked at a company with so many resources first before they started their own thing because they knew what it was supposed to look like.
Yes.
Is that what you would find?
Yeah. So I think that like HomeAway also for both of us was a huge learning. And for me too, like where I end up like working with so many internal teams and internal systems, I really got a feel of like, what does it take to run and manage a company? And then And then sometimes though, like when the company is too big, the processes, there are more processes in place. You move slower in some cases. As much as like at home, we always moved like really fast. So in a way, it becomes like, oh my God, like I can just like go in and do this without like having to go talk to 10 people. But on the other hand, it's like, oh my God, I took care of 10 different tasks today and I don't feel like I did any one of them in the best, in the best way possible.
Because the task list is
like it's just like, oh my God, now I have to go do this. Now I have to go do that. But it's like also fun in a way, right?
Yeah.
It's just, you're being challenged. You're constantly being challenged. And in some cases, you don't know enough. It's like, oh, let me go try to figure out, like, how do you even do this?
One of the things I read about you too is, and I think this is something that you came into ZenBusiness wanting to do, is make sure that there were a lot of women and diversity. And that was something you as a founder could say, like, no, we're going to actually do this. We're not going to say, we're going to actually do. So what did that look like? And was that hard or harder than you thought?
So it's a good thing that there's so many things that both of us agreed on, and I think that we were like really aligned on, and I think that also helped us like really wanting to do this together, or me like really wanting to join in on this journey. Is a diverse team is definitely
and what does diverse
be more successful.
What
so
did that mean
it's
to you?
about like different background and experiences, right? Oh, if it's just 10 of us and we all like, graduated from the same college, we all lived in the same city, we all are from the same race and family backgrounds, or like grew up the same way, are we really bringing in different ideas to the table? And again, like you always want to hire the most qualified person for the job, but then sometimes we have our biases, right? And those biases sometimes keeps us from thinking. We automatically decide, oh, this is the most qualified person, rather than really digging in and trying to understand who can bring the most value to the table. And for me personally, it's always been, it is not just about somebody's background, like experiences, or they have been at 10 different jobs, they have done all of this work, but it's more about the love and passion for what they want to work on, because you can always go learn things. So bringing in that diversity for us was like pretty big, because also, it was hard. Like my experience always been like, I was the only woman with 10 men around the table, and I always felt like it was hard to be heard, and again, most of those men had the very similar backgrounds at times, so they would understand each other much easier and much faster maybe, rather than trying to really learn of like, oh, there are different group of people sitting around the table and we all need to learn how to communicate. Like we all need to learn how to hear each other. So I think that was maybe like a force multiplier for me to really push for, more diversity at the company. And it's not easy to build. You have to build that into the culture. I think that's what's pretty important. Like the whole like diversity, equity, and inclusion, it is not just hiring a group of people and say, this is your mission. You have to like get DEI through the company. And like, it is not a budget line item. It
Right, it's
has
not check
to be
the box.
built into the culture, and it has to kind of be enforced throughout time as you're building and growing a company too. It should become like the culture for me, and the values of the company is something that as the company grows, you have to make sure you don't lose track of that.
And do you think that you succeeded? Like, do you feel proud of
I am
what
very proud.
you have been able to accomplish, with that being one of the goals?
Yes.
You
I
are.
mean, like 46, 47, almost like a little less than 50% of our population are women.
That's crazy. And everybody I know that works there is a girl.
Yeah.
and
that's at all the different levels and roles. This was my other criteria. It's like, I don't want to just say, oh, everybody at HR, is a woman, or everybody in customer success, because a lot of companies, that's what it ends up happening. And our enforcement was like, no, it has to be at all the different levels and roles. And every hiring manager should really think about diversity in their group. And also, luckily, we got the people who joined us who were all like very aligned with that idea too, right? It's it is helpful when the team you're building, the people that are joining the company, that they are aligned with your culture and values as well. Because if they're not, then things can take a different path.
So let's talk about, you're a big mentor. What is your biggest piece of advice when you're mentoring? Like, what do you think you bring towards the table?
First thing is like, if I could do it, you can do it too. You can do it a lot better than how I did it. But part of like what I advise, first of all, I'm like, just make sure you love what you're doing.
Why is that
the passion
important?
for it. Because to me, if you don't love what you're doing, it's really hard to be successful at it. How can you be successful at something that you go in day in and day out, and it's just creating you stress, and you can't wait to move off of it, for example, right? So as long as you're excited, you get up in the morning, you love to go start your day, and you really enjoy what doing. Now, there is no such a thing as a perfect world. It's nothing is ever 100%. But I think as long as you're like 70% really happy about what you're doing, that means like your love and passion is there. But also like really early on, my advice always is, I didn't know this, nobody ever told me this, is start building your network. Start building your network. What I mean by that is like people around you, whether you call them mentor, whether you call them an advisor, whether you call them a friend or a colleague, that you can just call or get in touch with anytime you feel like, oh my God, I wish I could talk to someone else about this. I wish I had someone that I could just ask this question from, whether it's like your current situation, whether it's what you're thinking to do next, like whatever that is, just having that network is super helpful. And people who've experienced it in the past, who've been there, people who even like they don't necessarily know everything about what you're in, but it's almost like bringing a third eye into the problem you're trying to solve. And how could that be a different thing that you didn't even think about is super valuable.
Yes.
Don't be shy, just go for it and ask people. You might ask, and don't get discouraged if first 5 people say, oh, sorry, I don't have time, or they can't do it. There are always going to be people that be happy to do so.
As we close out, I always do like to ask a couple just like fun questions. Like, what was your favorite place to go get food? Did you go get food around campus? Like, did you have a spot? And then when you moved to Austin for the first time, it was a whole different spot in the 80s. There weren't as many options. There definitely were not as many restaurants. But do you remember a spot like back when you were in college that you were like, this is it?
So it's interesting, a few things. First, when I was at UT, and then, being in the E department, like which was close, like the 26th Street.
Yeah.
And there was an Eggroll stand there.
Oh my gosh. This is the number one thing people talk about is this Eggroll stand.
It was fast. It was right there. It was inexpensive. It was good. It was really tasty. We all loved it.
Yeah.
So that was like the fast go-to, get something quick because, we have to be at school. And,
Sure.
So the other places, I would say on Guadalupe, like one was Schlossky's sandwiches, which like those days, I haven't had a Schlossky forever now, so I don't know how it has changed or not, but it was awesome. Like we all loved it. And McDonald's, again, fast, inexpensive, and good, tasty. So, and that's mainly, again, because we were mostly in school, right? So what's available to us around school. And then coming to Austin, there was like nothing going on in Austin. It was such a small, quiet city. It was unbelievable. And me, like growing up as like a really active kid and a teenager, and like growing up in a city that was 24/7, I felt like kind of depressed for a while.
Really? Oh, yeah. I would assume that was a big culture shock going from, because you were in Tehran.
Yeah, I grew up in Tehran.
And a lot of people compared to Austin in the 80s.
A few million. And again, it's a 24/7 city, just like New York City, just like London, So it definitely took some adjusting to, but then like just getting so busy with school.
Yeah.
But then started building a community here, right? The friends and family, and going to UT, had the opportunity to go to UT, which was like really amazing to me. And one thing led to another, and I ended up staying in Austin. But I'm so lucky, and I like love that I'm still in Austin, and I've seen the growth, and I love what it has become.
Well, thank you so much for coming in today.
Yes.
And again, you're going to still be like mentoring, right? And people can still reach out to you and hook 'em horns.
Yeah, who came horse. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.